We are back on our weekly conversation with the great Jack Doyle. I'm Matt Taylor. Thanks for visiting us again here on the Colts podcast channel with 9-year Colt, 2-time Pro Bowler, number 84, Jack Doyle. I'm Matt Taylor. Jack Attack, welcome back, man. How you doing today?
How could I be doing bad? 5-1, best record in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, the Colts are rolling. This podcast is going so great, man. I mean,
it's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. You come in here, talk about a win after win. I'm having a lot of fun.
And you went to the game on Sunday, right?
Yeah, whole crew was at the game. I mean, what an unbelievable atmosphere. Perfect day for football.
Yeah.
Roof was open.
Did you dial up the roof? You say, hey, I'm coming to the game. I need this bad boy open.
I have no pull when it comes to the roof. But, it made me think, whenever the Cardinals were kicking into the window, it made me think of the times Vinny would be mad that the window was open or things like, brought me back to some conversations.
The sideline gripes.
Yeah, when we were playing, when I was playing. But yeah, what a great day and a great team win. Does
it matter when the window's open? Like for you, what was the biggest challenge when the roof and the window were open and you were negotiating? Because it's tough. I mean, you got the weather, so no matter what it is outside, that's the temperature on the field, which typically they don't open it when it's not great weather. But also on top of that, it's, the north side of the stadium late in the game where the sun and the shadows meet, man, that could be tough.
I thought about it in this game. Cardinals were driving, they get down there, and then those guys, Jacoby was throwing from the shadow, and the guys were trying to catch it in the sun.
Yeah.
It does mess with you. This ball is dark. It's a big jump. I always talk about it. I'll get on a little tangent, but from college, you have the white stripe, right? And then in the NFL,
it's easier to track.
It's easier to see in college. And then you get in the NFL, it's a dark ball.
It's bigger, too.
Coming out of darkness, right? And sometimes it's hard to track, and you add the sun and, the shadows of the banners, and that's what they're kind of dealing with. So I always liked, being in the shadows or, not in the sun when playing, but yeah, you got to have it open on a beautiful day like that.
I don't mean to go back to the minutia of things, but I remember you and I were on the field one time about a year ago, and we were just kind of on the field talking about great plays. At the 20-yard line here in this game, I made this catch, but you were looking, I think, at like a bank of lights in the corner that used to be on, but they're not on anymore. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. So the rumor was that Peyton Manning had him shut off. Because I don't remember who it was, maybe Marvin, Reggie, one of those, great Hall of Fame players back in the day, lost a ball in the corner lights. In the corner lights. And he said, no more, turn them off. That's the rumor going around. I don't have
now that guy's got pull.
Yeah, he has pull. He's got a statue. He can do what he wanted. But
they're no longer on
anymore. But
yeah,
there's different challenges that come up you don't think of as a fan, but as a player, those are things going on in our pregame that, can cause us a little stress, anxiety, going into a football game.
Well, the Colts are 5-1, like you said, and they're off and rolling right now. First place in the AFC, first place in the AFC South. I think they have the most wins along with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have 5 wins. Obviously, the Colts haven't experienced their bye yet, and it was great to see him come through in a game like that, Jack, where they've had a couple of games earlier this season where they're blowing the doors off of people. They've got 3 wins over 20 points. It was really good in a weird way to say this because you don't want to you'd rather blow the doors off of anybody, but it's really important to beat teams because the NFL parity is at an all-time high with the salary cap and things like that. There's just good players on both sidelines. It's really important for the Colts to be able to close out games like that, and it was great to see them do that, make enough plays in crunch time in the fourth quarter. They outscored the Cardinals 14-3 in the final period.
Yeah, because that's, like you said, Matt, that's the NFL, right? And we've had these blowouts that are rare, but you want to do and show that we're a great football team. But a great football team also has to know how to win when maybe you don't have your best stuff, right? The curveball's not curving like it's supposed to. The fastball's not going like you want, and finding ways to get a win. And that fourth quarter, man, defense, and then I'm going to speak on the offense. I was looking back at it. We faced 1 third down in those last 2 drives. We hit downs on the little shallow route or whatever down there in the red zone. But that just showed how much we were rolling, how Shane was rolling as a play caller, him and Daniel being on the same page, and the whole offense was just, like I said, just efficient. And, it never really had it's a high-stress moment being down in a football game, but we didn't have many high-stress plays because we never got in 3rd and long or had to, got to have a conversion. So it was really impressive to see.
And you were there What was going through your mind on that last drive? And the reason why I asked is because you talked about this last week with the injury to Kyler Murray. There was a decent chance all week long, and then it came to fruition over the weekend, that backup quarterback Jacoby Brissett was going to potentially get the start. He ended up getting the start, and you were very close, still are very close to Jacoby when he was here all those years in the Colts locker room. When you're watching that game, you're tight with Jacoby, but obviously your Colts affinity runs very, very deep.
Yeah.
What was going on in your head there in that last drive?
It was, I'm in the stadium and watching with my kids, and my kids were even conflicted because they know how much I care about Jacoby.
Jacoby's like the fun uncle.
Yeah, he is. That's Uncle Jacoby. Jacoby's one of my best friends. Will always be one of my best friends.
Yeah.
We went through a lot together, and speaking of, I'll just speak more on Jacoby, but just having. In the NFL, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and finding guys that have your back through adversity and you have their back through adversity, and that's what I've been with Jacoby. That's what he's been for me. Mm-hmm. Our friendship runs to death, man. I mean, that's my guy. So watching that, I'm like, oh, get the stop. Oh, good job, Jacoby. Great escape and hit a tight end on a 2nd and long.
Yeah, but when the Cardinals get a first down, you're not like outwardly.
No,
you're at Lucas Oil.
Yeah.
See it blew around you, bro.
Right. I was, I'm getting high fives from fans, but I'm sitting there kind of sweating. I felt like a parent. I really did. I felt like Donna Kelsey watching two sons compete in a football game, not knowing what to do with
like
myself.
Archie Manning when Eli and Peyton play.
I mean, it really was, but I was really proud that
Donna Kelsey.
I was super happy that the Colts got the win, and I was also very happy of how Jacoby played. I know that meant a lot to him.
Sure.
Coming back here, and he had great memories and great play here. Got a chance to talk to him Saturday. I was joking with him. So Jacoby is actually a new dad. About a month and a half ago. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he has dad strength on display.
He did.
I have this running joke that when you have your first kid as a player, you're going to play really good that season.
I can attest to that.
You get your dad strength, man, and you become a much better player. All joking aside, but I was really proud of the way Jacoby played. And speaking from my perspective, and he's just a great man.
Yeah, it's crazy to think he's been in the NFL for 10 years. And the irony about that start was the last time the Colts played the Cardinals at Lucas Oil Stadium, Jacoby Brissett was getting his first start in the NFL for the Indianapolis Colts. And then, you only play him once every 8 years, once every 4 years, but once every 8 years when they come back to Lucas Oil Stadium. Here's Jacoby Brissett starting in the game for the Cardinals.
I remember that game. That's funny. I didn't even think about that, Matt. I'll never forget that game because it was the first time Jacoby was starting. And he'd been here a week. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting in probably the second quarter.
Got traded on Labor Day.
Yeah, we're in the second quarter. We're in the huddle, and Jacoby's calling a play. And he goes, hey, Jack, what are you running here? And I'm like,
tell me.
I'm like, I got the middle read. I'm running a basic if it's one high. I'm taking the middle if it's two high. He's like, okay. I'm like, I go to the line. I'm like, I'm getting this ball. Like, he doesn't know what else he's
No one else. He doesn't know anywhere else except where you're going.
Else's route. He's locked on me. And lo and behold, he threw me the ball. We made a conversion. I was like, all right, this is going to work out good with Jacoby. This guy trusts me.
You're going to feast.
And he's going to feed me. So that's a fun little reminder. That was another close game. That game went to overtime.
That's
if I
right.
remember right.
That's
if
right.
I remember right.
Yeah, Cardinals pulled that game off, unfortunately.
Yeah, but yeah, that's funny. That's a full circle in the NFL world.
Did you guys what was it about Jacoby? Did you guys just hit it off right away? Or?
Yeah, I think we just saw the game the same way.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it a little bit with Tyler and Daniel, and there's things, a tight end and quarterback. I always think a tight end's job is how can I make the quarterback's job easier? How can I be, reliable over the middle of the field, make easy completions for him? And when you see the game the same way and don't have to talk about every route in depth, you just naturally have the same instincts going on and see it the same way. And that's what Jacoby and I had. And again, that's what we're seeing with Daniel and Tyler. They just see it the same way, and it builds confidence in the quarterback for all the other, it builds confidence in getting easy completions because then he has confidence going to the outside and throwing the deep out to the wide outs and things like that. But yeah, it's like I said, full circle thinking of that Cardinal game back in 2017.
Absolutely. Well, Jacoby Brissett, good on you, man. You played incredibly well. Glad your team didn't get the win, but good on you, man. It was good to see you. Great that you played well, and all the best to you and the Arizona Cardinals the rest of the season. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Tip of the cap to Jacoby Brissett, man. You are the man for sure. 320 yards in a losing effort. But the clutch ability of the Colts. You mentioned those last 2 drives for the Colts that resulted in touchdowns. Only 1 third down combined on those last 2 drives. They were clutch. Jack, what do you remember about being in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line and all of the work that you did all week long leading up to the game then comes down to just these few couple of minutes? How did you stay within yourself? What was the key to success to making sure you were composed with the magnitude of the week, the team, the fan base, everybody watching on top of you?
Yeah, the thing that always helped me, and I see it with this Colts team, and I know they're feeling this, is when you get in that huddle, you're in the fourth quarter and you're in the huddle, and you see the way the quarterback calls the play. He calls it a little different when you're down 7 and you're trying to go tie a football game, or down 3, want to go take a lead.
Right.
He calls it a little different.
Are you talking like just intensity in his voice?
The focus, the look in his eye is just a little different, and it brings that out in everybody else in the huddle. And you see it. You look across the huddle, you see the O-lineman, you see the focus in their eyes, you see the wide receivers, and you look around you, and you're like, man, we're going to do this. There's no doubt in your mind. There's not a seed of doubt in your mind that, hey, we're going to go win this football game. And you see it in the way the Colts are playing, man, because everyone is contributing. There's trust in every player. There's a connection with Shane and calling the plays, and Coach Lou and the defense, standing tall there in the red zone at the end. There's just a focus that comes out when you got to have it. There's got to have it drives, got to have it moments.
Yeah, and they did it they made it look so easy.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there wasn't a high stress.
Right.
I remember watching. There was never like, oh man, we really need.
There wasn't a bad penalty. There wasn't a sack that took you off schedule.
There was no negatives. It was incredible. Just the efficiency of. It looks like the first drive. The first drive was very similar in the way we came out and we're rolling. So to have that, to have your fastball, go back to the baseball. To have your fastball late in the game. That's what you want, and that's a sign of a good football team.
Well, they found that fastball late in the game, but in the middle part of the game, the Colts were, to keep it in a baseball analogy, kind of, hitting some full counts and striking out, right? Some punts there in the second quarter. Third quarter was kind of choppy. And the Arizona defense is pretty good, right? Coming into the game, they were giving up only 19 points per game. They got some studs. They got Mac Wilson. They've got Calais Campbell and Baron Browning, and they've got Sweat in the back. Sorry, did I trigger you?
Yeah, you triggered me with Calais Campbell. I used to hate blocking him. Huge human being.
He is still getting it done, man. 18 years in the NFL. Can you believe that? All the wear and tear on that body.
Oh, my gosh. What a football player. And a great man.
Yeah. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year guy.
I got to interact with him a little bit at the Pro Bowl, and he's a great person. So then it makes it even like when you're blocking him, you're like, he's a good guy. Darn it, he's beating.
I wish you weren't so freaking nice.
I wish you weren't so nice. But no, like you said, they have studs over there, and credit JG. I think what we saw, Matt, was the chess match. Shane and Jonathan Gannon know each other very well. They've worked together, I think that little bit of back and forth and kind of hitting that little lull there in the middle part of the game was just, like you said, credit to the Cardinals defense, credit to Jonathan Gannon and the plan they had coming in. But Shane got the upper hand there at the end in the way he was calling plays.
Yeah, and that, again, that defense, it's very good. It's full of guys, Pro Bowl players, Pro Bowl caliber players in all 3 levels of that defense. But it's kind of like the Lou Anarumo defense, right? It's a lot of disguise. It's a lot of uncertainty pre-snap. And you could tell in the middle part of the game, Daniel Jones was – just body language wise in the pocket, just a little bit unsure, not as decisive as what we're accustomed to seeing him be throwing the football. But how did he figure it out? What steps did he take and Shane Steichen take throughout the course of that game to become more sure of what the Cardinals were doing pre-snap with all of that roaming around and kind of standing up and not getting into full position before the snap of the ball?
Yeah, he didn't get frustrated. First off, and you go through, you stick with your process, right? Sometimes, the Colts have had this, they have a process, they have a routine they go through on the sideline, and it's been working so far, right? We're scoring more than 30 points, it seems like every game, and sometimes you hit these lulls in games, and you just stick with your process. You get back in your routine, you come to the sideline, you get this, Microsoft Surface out or whatever, and you're looking at the screenshots of the plays, and he's talking with Shane and trying to figure out how we can fix this. And, oh, man, I should have saw this. And, they did give a tell pre-snap, and maybe they see that on the sideline. Hey, here's a little tell that we saw in the third quarter. This is going to come back up in the fourth quarter. Let's make the right play. Let's make the right adjustment. And then it pays off in the end.
Can you tell, though, what's going on pre-snap? When you go back and watch the film, are you still in kind of, question mark mode? Like, I really don't know what this is. Now imagine playing quarterback in real time if you're Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they were confusing me. Watching the film, I'm like, oh, are they going to roll to 2? Oh, it's man. That's what it kind of felt like. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't have to play quarterback and trying to figure out this in real time. Because even like, the tell could be, the corner's outside shade on wide receiver 1, the guy closest to the sideline. And you got to think Daniel Jones is under center or in shotgun, and he's trying to look out there. You're like, hey, is that guy outside shade? You can't ask him. He's like,
and it's also about 30 yards away.
It's 30 yards away. I don't know. And you get he can, I don't know. How long can you get the earpiece talking to you till about?
I think it's up until
15 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's getting maybe they did a better job, I'm guessing. Maybe they did a better job of getting out of the huddle so he can get some advice from the sideline and getting a tell. But it's a cat and mouse game. And like I said, when you have two coaches, and you run into this all the time in the NFL because, the coaching world, they just kind of cycle around and go from one place to the other. But, Jonathan Gannon knowing Shane and Shane knowing JG, it's just the cat and mouse game. It becomes a chess match, and the Colts, put them in checkmate there at the end.
Yeah. Why don't more teams do that? Defensively, I mean.
Well, you got to have guys.
The Colts try to do that, right?
And you have to have guys you can trust, right? Because you can be put in bad situations, as you know, Matt. And when you're trying to disguise so much, and guys aren't all on the same page, because the Colts do a great job of this too. You see a lot of the motions pre-snap, right? That's all, like we're talking about. That's all to get a tell. Yeah. More than likely, it's not really trying to create an advantage. We're not,
to keep it basic, right? It's to tell. If you're man or zone.
Yeah,
right?
Basic. Let's keep it. You're trying to tell if it's man or zone, right? Yeah. You see a lot of the pre-snap Downs going to motion, sure. Tyler Warren going to motion, Pierce had some motion. We're all trying to just figure out.
How are you adjusting to that?
What is the defense doing?
Right.
Because the defense has a call, but defense is very reactive. And when you're trying to disguise like the Cardinals are, and you do those pre-snap motions, they all got to fix the play together, right? All 5 of the, speaking of the DBs, all 5 guys on the back end, they all got to figure out what's the call, how are we playing this, and when you keep disguising and changing your calls and changing your looks, it makes it you worry that the defense is going to slip and one guy's not going to be on the same page and guys are running free. So that's the hesitation to be so multiple in your look and in disguises. But the Cardinals do, like I said, I love Jonathan Gannon. I think he's a great coach, and I think he's a DB guy, so they're going to have some tough looks and for a quarterback to try and figure out.
How tough was it for you as a tight end? You talk about, hey, I don't want to play quarterback against this, but tight end, you got a lot on your plate too. Maybe just as much as the quarterback. How tough was it for you to play against a team like that where, lining up, you don't know what they're in, which affects your depth, your reads, the checks and the audibles at the line of scrimmage that you're getting from the quarterback. What was that like for you playing?
Yeah, I always called it a triangle. I always looked at the triangle. So I would always look at, what the DN or outside backer, what was he, how was he aligned on me? Was he outside shade? Was he head up? You know, what kind of stance he was in? Then I'm looking at the inside backer, right? How is he? Is he bossed over? Is he in his normal, 30 alignment, which would be behind?
Yeah, but if a guy's just like standing up though, up until the snap of the ball.
Yeah, and then they start moving. And then you're looking at the safety in the corner, and then you're trying to figure it out, and then it says go.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh crap, what'd they all do, right? And it comes from repetition, right? And the more you do it, and again, I'm just looking at, I always called it my tiny little triangle versus the quarterback who's looking at the whole big picture, which, man, that's why it's the toughest job in sports right there. And again, like, let's credit Daniel, because a lot of guys are smart enough and have seen the game enough that they can figure it out, right? They can kind of tell what you're going to be in and figure out that tell. But then they can't execute the play.
Yeah.
And that's what Daniel's doing such a great job of. He's not only figuring out what's going on, but then he's delivering an accurate throw, or he's putting the ball where he needs to be, or carrying out his fake, doing all the right things to to give the Colts offense success.
All right, so you had a good time.
Oh yeah.
On Sunday.
Oh yeah.
All right, what were you doing pregame?
Oh, pregame. So I was with Vivid Seats, hyping up some fans there,
Okay.
and a little tailgate action. Went on the radio.
Yeah,
Missed you,
I
Matt,
saw that.
was on
I
there.
heard that
So
actually.
got to talk with Joe and Bill and James V. So that was fun.
Yep.
They snuck me on there real fast. And then in the first quarter, this was really fun, Matt. I got to surprise a fan, my guy Dwight.
Yeah.
He's been a season ticket holder since 1984. He drives 120 miles to every Colts home game. Doesn't miss a home game.
Where's he from?
120 miles away.
Okay, fair enough.
I forget he's 120 miles. But he was
2 hours.
Gracious.
Down to earth, right?
Down to earth.
Yeah.
Great man that I've ever that I've been around.
Yeah.
And getting my small interaction with him, we got to surprise him with a number 84 jersey.
Oh, that's amazing.
The old
Yeah.
number 84 got to present.
That's
it.
why he's there, baby.
Oh, it was so awesome to see like the type of people that we have in this great state of Indiana and the fans that we have and the support. It makes me happy for those guys to be able to see this team rolling at 5-1 too.
Heck yeah.
Because they've been through the days the past few years, right? And let's have some success for the fans too.
Well, that's great pregame. Reason why I ask is because you had a less stressful pregame than Shane Steichen did.
Yes.
All right. So just bizarre set of circumstances. Everybody knows the story by now, but backup quarterback Anthony Richardson suffers an orbital fracture to his eye, warming up in the locker room, had to be hospitalized, and Shane Steichen says he's doing good, but he has since gone on injured reserve, so he's going to miss the next 4 games due to that. And so that, at least on Sunday, that forced Riley Leonard into the backup role as the backup quarterback to Daniel Jones, of course. Also in pregame, it didn't end there. All right, starting cornerback Charvarius Ward, Jack, suffers a concussion. He collides with tight end Drew Ogletree. All right, Ogletree's out on the field catching passes, running routes, and those two just, Ward has his back to Ogletree, and those two just collide, and it knocks Ward to the turf and, gains a concussion, unfortunately. He's out for the game. I'm not sure what his status is going to be this week. Jack, did anything remotely close to anything as bizarre as that happen to you as a player before the game even?
No, I can't. There'd be one instance maybe. I'm trying to rack my brain on what kind of happened, but I happened to be standing right there. I was actually talking to Tom Manning on the sideline right there, and when Mooney Ward went down, and Drew Ogletree. But tough situation. Hopefully, prayers for him and AR, and hoping for a speedy recovery for them. But I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. The pregame, guys running around and getting, this is, we're talking pregame before we have pads on.
Well, some guys are wearing headphones.
They can't,
and they're just, they're not really aware of their surroundings.
They're locked in on their pregame routine, and guys are just kind of running everywhere.
Yeah.
Guys are kicking the ball.
You're looking up in the air.
There's equipment guys running around everywhere trying to, make sure this doesn't happen, right? So really a tough situation, and again, prayers to those guys in a speedy recovery, and you just feel sick for them to, whenever someone gets hurt like that in a pregame and just trying to get ready for a game, just
trying to do your job.
Really tough situation.
So as a former player, when you hear that, like if you're getting dressed, you're putting on your jersey, your pants, your socks, and all of a sudden, you hear through the grapevine, the rumors are going through the locker room, and it's like, oh, we're going to be down Ward today. Oh, did you hear what happened to Richardson? Yeah. Like, you guys are creatures of habit, man. Like, what would that have done to your pregame routine when all of a sudden now you're worrying about, guys, as human beings, your teammates looking out for their well-being. Yeah. What would that have done to throw off your rhythm to get ready for the game? Yeah,
it messes with you. It's impossible for it not to mess with you, right? And like you said, every player is in their own routine, right?
Sure.
It looks different for every guy, and anything that kind of throws off that routine, it messes with you, right? And it's hard to kind of shake it off. But what the Colts did, and again, this is a credit to the veteran leadership we have in that locker room, and these guys have been through a lot. Don't want to compare any situations or anything like that, but we had to have veteran leaders step up and be like, hey guys, our thoughts and prayers are with these guys. Like, we're thinking of them. but this football game's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And we got to come out and be ready to play. That's what these guys would want us to do, right? They want us to come out and play the right way. And again, let's credit the veteran leadership in the locker room.
Yeah, ultimate business, right? I mean, the NFL waits for nobody, for nothing.
Nope. It doesn't stop rolling.
Absolutely.
It does not care.
It is. It's a cold, hard truth. It's a bottom line deal. And within that, guys had to step up. I mean, obviously the Cardinals, they got their yardage, they got their points. The game plan had to be adjusted for sure by the Colts. But, we talked about the great play of Jacoby Brissett. He throws for 320. Cardinals rack up a season-high 400 yards, season-high 27 points. But give it up, big time. Mekhi Blackmon, Jonathan Edwards, Chris Lamons. All right, let's just take them in order. All right, Lamons was brought up off the practice squad 2 weeks ago. And, you're down Kenny Moore. Now all of a sudden you're down Charvarius Ward. Jalen Jones is still on IR. Xavier Howard retires a couple of weeks ago. Jalen Jones, who knows when he's going to come back. Justin Wally tore his ACL at the beginning of training camp. I mean, the guys that they play, I mean, Mekhi Blackmon wasn't even here, 6 weeks ago. He got traded at the end of training camp. Credit to all of those guys for stepping up and for Lou Anarumo to be able to make it work, especially in crunch time. The Colts got the stop that they needed at the end of the day. But, Edwards is an undrafted free agent. I didn't have him on my bingo card at the beginning of the season with as much depth as the Colts had going into training camp at that cornerback position, Jack. It just seems like one position group every year gets hammered with injuries, and this year it's the cornerback room. So a lot of guys had to make plays that the Colts really weren't counting on at the beginning of July. Yeah,
and like you said, Matt, it's every year it seems like one position group kind of gets this, and every team's kind of dealing with this. So like we said, we're talking about dog eat dog, the NFL cold hard business.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Nobody cares.
You got to deliver.
Yeah.
And I really think those guys competed hard. Mm-hmm. I really did. When they were in tight man coverage, like Jacoby was delivering accurate throws and they were making tight catches.
Yeah.
And those guys were right there. And then Chris comes up with the big play on fourth down and keeping his leverage. Everyone in the stadium knew the ball was going to the tight end. If we know Jacoby at all, and they have a great one in Trey McBride, he's going to feed the tight end.
You knew where it was going.
Yeah, I knew where it was going. But I was proud of the way those guys competed, and like you said, Matt, hopefully we can get some guys back to kind of help in the back end, because again we've talked about this on this show before, but how important it is for the guys on the back end. I'm talking cornerbacks and safeties. Those guys all have to be on the same page, because especially in Coach Lou's system and how we're trying to be multiple in our looks and our schemes. And then, defense is very reactive. So they get a call, but then emotion can completely change the call, can completely change how we're playing defense. They could go empty and we're checking to something, right? That's a big thing. You go empty, a lot of teams check to 2, right? And if we're not all on the same page, and those guys have to get reps together, they have to play together, they have to be communicating. And when you're on defense at home, it's loud. You can't hear, right? And so those guys got to have the hand signals down and a bunch of stuff to figure out pregame when something like this happens, and a new guy's going to be playing a lot more. So credit those guys and the way they competed and the way they, we didn't see guys running wide open down the field and things like that. So I was proud of the way they competed. Yeah, to your point, I don't know if Cam Bynum has a voice, because I'm sure he was just screaming his head off, making sure guys like, and this is not to disparage Jonathan Edwards at all, but if you're Cam Bynum, it's like, I know this kid hadn't played, wasn't expecting to play, found out he was going to make his first start in the NFL 70 minutes before the game. I'm sure he's just like double and triple checking every play. Hey, kid, this is what we're doing, just screaming his head off, because like you said, it is loud, making sure a guy like Jonathan Edwards and Mekhi Blackmon are all on the same page because of the rarity of the situation. Yeah, I mean, it's putting more on Cam. Like you said, Cam's still got to do his job, right? He's, sometimes. But he's being that quarterback, double, triple checking. When you get put in those situations, and I've been there, playing with a young tight end or playing with a young tackle next to me, sometimes I would get so caught up and trying to make sure they're on the right, on the right page, that we're on the same page, and then I'd mess up my responsibility, right, and trying to do too much. So let's credit Cam and being the quarterback back there and getting those guys lined up, and then still doing his job to the best of his abilities. All right, well, I want to double back to the quarterback situation. All right, so again, Anthony Richardson is on injured reserve with that eye injury, and I think
God bless him, I think he's going to be okay. I mean, that is frightening. That's terrifying what happened to him before the game. So he's doing okay. I think he's going to be able to recover. That's the main thing. Secondary to that is, I think you have to have 3 quarterbacks to be able to operate an NFL football team, right? So they, by math, just need another quarterback. But they also, Jack, it's debatable in terms of the urgency the Colts need in getting a backup quarterback. Is that guy going to be Riley Leonard? Is he ready for that? And then secondly, if he's not ready for that, just for argument's sake, how much urgency should the Colts have to be able to go after a guy that is a viable, bona fide, you can win with this guy quarterback if, God forbid, anything happens to Daniel Jones, who's playing ridiculously well right now? What's your level of urgency if you're the general manager, if you're, if you have a vote within that personnel grouping, Jack? How do you handle this situation, knowing that you're off to a great start? Great start, 5-1. You need that insurance package, if you will.
Yeah, I think there should be a lot of urgency, Matt. I really do. I think the backup quarterback position is one of the more underrated positions in the NFL because that guy more than likely is going to have to come in and win you a football game. And again, the coaches are working through that right now. They're the ones seeing how Riley's playing in practice.
Sure.
And Riley had a great preseason, and they know if he's ready or not. But there needs to be an urgency in solidifying that position while AR's, recovering from, like you said, that horrific injury, that, scary situation. But finding a guy that Shane can trust, and maybe someone that Shane has worked with, that's usually, where you kind of see, I don't know who that would be, off the top of my head, but finding a guy that Shane trusts, knows Shane's system, and a guy that can come in, and if God forbid something does happen, that the guys can trust. And
gives you a good chance to win every Sunday.
And the guys have confidence in.
Right.
I think it's such a big role and one that needs to be filled. And
let's be real. Is it different now that you're 5-1 compared to if you were 2-3?
Yeah. Absolutely.
The window is now, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, that's why why I say why the urgency needs to be high, because like you said, Matt, if you're a 2-3 football team, let's see what Riley can do. If that's what the situation is, right? Again, we don't know. We're not the coaches. We're not the front office. We're not seeing them, day in, day out. But you're a 5-1 football team. You owe it to everybody else in that locker room and the work they've put in and what they've done to get this great start to the season, to say, hey guys, I'm going to have somebody here that everyone's going to trust, everyone believes in, that, if the situation does come up, he's going to come in and help us win a football game.
Well, and if I could interject too, I think it's so different compared to years past, because you do have this, you've built up this margin for error. This is what the Colts have not had the last couple of years. They've gotten off this terrific start, best start since 2009. And, I use this set of dialogue in the offseason a lot going into the season, just to talk about how well the roster has been built and how well it's been constructed. But, going back to last year, Anthony Richardson was the primary starter a year ago, started 11 games. And Anthony Richardson a year ago, he completed 47% of his passes, but he became the first quarterback in the NFL since 2011 to complete less than half of his passes but win more than half of his starts.
Yeah.
He was 6-5 as a starter last year. And what that tells me, that's not to disparage the completion percentage for Anthony Richardson last year. The point of that stat is, it tells me that the roster around inconsistent quarterback play is too good to bottom out.
You're exactly right.
You know what I mean? They were in a ton of close games. They fought their way. They lost a lot of close games. They won a lot of close games because the roster around the quarterback was too good to be 2-14.
And that's why you owe it to those guys.
Right.
Like I just said, Matt, that you owe it to that locker room to have someone in there that they trust and that they believe in. That's going to build confidence in them.
No doubt.
And then they're going to lift that guy up too. And having let's credit Chris and the way this roster has been built. And we have, like you said, a great opportunity ahead of us. So like you said, I think the urgency should be high to have someone in here.
All right, to close out here, we're going to have a little fun called Would You Have Believed It? All right, I'm going to give you a couple of statements, couple of facts, and you just put on your shoes that you wore on Labor Day weekend, Jack Doyle, all right, about 6-7 weeks ago.
Okay.
All right, you were out there on the boat, you were partying.
Yeah.
You know, well, actually, in all reality, you're probably at like a baseball game or a football game.
Yeah, I was doing some youth sport.
Exactly. All right, so before the season started, would you have believed these things on Labor Day weekend when the Colts were 0-0, all right? Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones and the Colts offense has produced its third game already this season with over 200 passing yards and 150 rushing yards, the most such games for the franchise to the first 6 games of a season since 1976. Better than all of the Andrew Luck years and the Peyton Manning years. Would you have believed it?
No. Flat out, no. I mean, the stuff this offense is doing is it feels like, Matt, you have a new stat every week on this show.
Yeah.
And it's like from 1967, you know, when Johnny Unitas was throwing to Raymond Berry.
I'm the Donald Davidson of Colts football.
Yeah, like, you know, last time this happened, Johnny Unitas hit Raymond Berry for
and he ate a ham sandwich on a Tuesday.
It's just incredible the stuff this offense is doing. And I had the opportunity to talk to Shane pregame really briefly. And I was just like, Shane, you guys are so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I hope the fans are appreciating. Well, and I know they are because the diehards have been through days where it's like, man, the offense has been inconsistent or things like that. But watching an offense roll like this in today's NFL, man, it's just so fun to watch and so impressive.
All right, last one. The Colts have the most wins so far in the AFC with 5. But guess what? The Texans are 2-3. And the Baltimore Ravens are 1-5. Would you have believed it?
No, the Baltimore Ravens one gets me.
Yeah.
The Ravens, year in, year out, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it seems like, right? And
same thing with Cincinnati. I mean, they've got their injuries too.
It's like year in, year out. Yeah, obviously they're missing Lamar right now. But no, I wouldn't have believed that either, Matt. It's just, like I said, we put ourselves in a great position and what we've seen from this team is they're not satisfied, and every week they're coming out and putting their best foot forward and finding ways to get W's, man.
That's right.
It's so fun to watch.
Do not take it for granted.
Nope.
It has not happened around here since 2009. All right, we close out the podcast every week. We do it with a fun segment called You Don't Know Jack. We'll find out more about Jack Doyle when he takes the helmet off. We know about him on the football field. He was a Pro Bowl player, but who is he as a person, all right? You don't know Jack. The question this week is, Jack Doyle, what are your favorite movies and your favorite TV shows, and what are you binge watching these days?
That's good, Matt.
Yeah.
Favorite movie. So my favorite movie of all time is Tommy Boy. Surprise. So I'm a big
fat guy in a little coat.
Fat guy in a little coat. I watch comedies. That's what that's how I check out of reality.
Same.
And that makes
you and me can hang, buddy.
So I am Chris Farley through and through. I know I was joking with you, Matt, last week when I'm doing these player on player interview or whatever. I feel like Chris Farley when he's interviewing Paul McCartney, and he's like,
you remember that?
You remember
that was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool.
You remember that? But no, I'm a huge Chris Farley fan.
Good Saturday Night Live poll, dude, by the way. That's good.
Oh, it's good. It's great. The best Chris Farley. I used to watch that on repeat. I have a lot of those scenes.
Matt Foley.
Yeah, a lot of those scenes memorized, man. That's my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
Shows, I don't stay up to date with the shows.
Okay.
I am more, I watch shows on repeat, so I love The Office.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to go watch a show, again, just to watch TV is for me to check out a reality, right?
Don't think.
Yeah, don't think. So I'll just watch Office reruns over and over and over again.
You know what you're getting.
I know what I'm getting.
Yep.
There's a comfort in that.
100%.
I don't know what it is.
No doubt.
So I like to watch, whatever the popular show is right now. I'll watch that in about 20, 30.
Same. I am exactly the same.
You know what I mean? And I'll catch up real quickly. And
I just was turned on to Mad Men. I think that's been off the air for a decade.
Yeah, I know. It's the way I roll. I'll watch it later.
Yep.
I can't.
If it's good, I'll hear about it eventually.
Right, and maybe I just don't have the patience to wait for new shows.
100%.
The new episode to come out. It's like I want to watch it when I want to watch it.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
But the best reality TV is NFL football.
It's the NFL.
It always will be.
Oh, yeah.
You can't beat it. Sports sports are the best. I can say it over and over. The best reality TV there is.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
And do you watch TV with your wife? I mean, does she watch sports? Do you watch her shows?
Oh, yeah.
You guys cross over?
Yeah, we cross over. You know, she's big on The Office. What's another, a family we watched The Middle. I don't know if you've ever seen that family sitcom.
Yeah, I've seen that.
With the kids there, and they're the Indiana family. Maybe it reminds me a little bit of my childhood.
Yep.
So yeah, we watch that show too. So yeah, we're big on rewatching reruns and all that fun stuff.
We'll see how it goes. That's Jack Doyle, a.k.a. Michael Scott.
Yes.
And I am the assistant to the regional manager here.
Assistant 2.
I'm Dwight Schrute. He's Michael Scott. We have to report to corporate, right? So we got to go here. It's the Colts and Chargers coming up in Week 7. Jack, the Colts are going back to the scene of the crime. Their only loss of the season happened in L.A. It was against the Rams, but they go back to SoFi Stadium for the second go-around to play the Chargers coming up on Sunday. We'll see if they have a little revenge in mind for the L.A. fans out west. But we will do it again next Tuesday, breaking down the latest and greatest with the Indianapolis Colts with the great Jack Doyle. I'm Matt Taylor. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week here on the Colts Podcast channel. Adios.